Now, based on which of these you do select, as well as some of the other requirements that may or may not exist on your clients, your RAS server will choose one of 4 different protocols in order to connect that client in with your internal resources. Let's take a look at what those protocols might be, because there are indeed 4 of them that go in decreasing order of security. The very top one here is IKE v2, which is only available on Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 8.1. One assumes it'll be available on later versions as well. IKE v2 supports some extra kind of fun functionality like IPv6 connections and VPN reconnect, which allows a user to disconnect for some reason. Maybe they had a network problem in their local location, and then reconnect to their resources and reconnect to the VPN automatically. IKE v2 also supports EAP and computer certificates for client authentication for that extra added layer of security. But it does not support either of the not very secure protocols like PAP or CHAP. Now, IKE v2 uses UDP port 500 as its mechanism to connect, which can be a little bit of a problem because in some circumstances, the user out in the hotel or in the airport may not have access from their location to connect to your server over UDP 500. Now, for that reason, you may not be able to use IKE v2, even though it supports all these additional functionalities. Sstp is another protocol that you can use that you may have a better experience with across the variety of different incoming conditions that your clients may be connecting from. This is the case because Sstp uses port TCP 443, which is your classic HTTPS port. Sstp is available for 7, 8, and 8.1 as well as Windows Vista. Sstp is essentially an encapsulation of the unsecure Pptp protocol over SSL. And so in order to use it, you have to install an SSL certificate onto your RAS server. And the clients need to trust that certificate. Now, that can happen if you have an internal PKI where they automatically trust things, or if you buy a third-party certificate from some GoDaddy somewhere, that can automatically engender the trust that's required. But Sstp doesn't support any VPN connections that are using web proxies that require authentication. So you kind of get some benefits out of Sstp, particularly the port number that's used, but you also lose a couple of things as well in comparison with IKE v2. Now, an older protocol, but one that has been around for a really long period of time, is L2TP over IPsec, or the Layer 2 tunneling protocol over IP security. Now, L2TP over IPsec is available for Windows XP for Windows Vista 7, 8, and 8.1. So it's been around for a very long time. And in fact, a lot of environments still use L2TP over IPsec today. One of the reasons why it's still in use is because L2TP over IPsec requires two-way authentication. The server, the RAS server, has to have a certificate installed onto it. And then each client that connects in also has to have its own client certificate installed onto that machine as well. Because of that, L2TP over IPsec can support smart card authentication. And as I said, if you've got Windows XP clients that are around, if you have a PKI infrastructure that's around, if you've got the certificates that are already deployed, L2TP over IPsec can support your needs. If you are, however, an environment that doesn't have that PKI infrastructure, or really the ability to create it, then you're going to be defaulting down to the lowest security level, which is just simply Pptp. It is the oldest VPN protocol still supported by Windows Server 2012 R2, and it's been around for a very long time. It also, thus, is the least secure. It's generally used by organizations that have Windows XP machines that don't have that PKI necessary to support the additional functionality of L2TP over IPsec. And as you saw already just a second ago, Pptp exists as that kind of default feedback when the other client requirements for other protocols are not met. We have not done anything with certificates, either at the server side or at the client side at this point. And so our incoming client defaults down to this very insecure Pptp connection in order for it to connect up with our RAS server. And so, as you can imagine, our next step in this process is to incorporate the appropriate requirements, both at the server side and the client side, so that we can elevate ourselves to one of these better VPN protocols.